Hi, this is Alex Vincent, Andy Barkley from the Chucky franchise, and you are listening to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Podcast. Keep listening. Chucky will kill you.
Close your eyes and count to 7. When you wake, you'll be in heaven.
In a world where zombies, ghosts, serial killers, and vampires all exist, welcome to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Podcast.
Everybody to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Review Podcast. This is episode 6, and tonight we're going to jump into. This is an interesting franchise, in my opinion, because he's nowhere near the scariest villain now to me. But when I was knee-high to a grasshopper and I saw this guy's commercials come on TV, I was terrified. We're jumping into Chucky tonight, and we're going to be reviewing the very first original Child's Play. And we're just going to start off by saying our quick thoughts on the series, and then we're going to jump into the film review. Like I said, I remember being a little kid and watching like Monday night, I think it was Nitro, Mike. Is that correct?
Yeah,
WCW?
Nitro. WCW.
I would watch Nitro, and during the commercials, they would always have the Bride of Chucky commercials come on. And as soon as I saw that commercial come on, I had to always go to the bathroom or had to go to the kitchen because I was terrified of Chucky when I was a little kid. I think that's what this whole franchise is aimed towards, is just to scare kids. Personally, this is my opinion. But I think the beginning of the franchise is good. It hits a really big low in the middle. It has somewhat of an uprise, and then it goes low again. And I'm gonna leave it at that.
Did it ever go low again? Holy.
Because it's definitely got a lot of highs and lows in this series. But Brian, what are your thoughts on Child's Play franchise?
I like Chucky as a character. I think that the movies aren't very great. I think Curse of Chucky to me is my favorite one. I haven't seen this movie before I watched it for this review in 20 something years, so it was basically like I was watching it new, and I was a little bit disappointed. Like I said, I like Chucky as a character. I think he does the dark comedy right. I think that Freddy stopped being Freddy and started trying to be Chucky, honestly, in his later films.
Me too.
And I think it hurt him. But I think Chucky that's him. Like, he's a rotten, foul-mouthed little bastard, and I think he is, I like the character of Chucky.
I agree with that.
Right. I'm kind of with you, Brian. I'm a big fan of Chucky the character. Even in the later really shitty movies, there's still some good Chucky moments. Now, the plot will be dumb. The decisions they make will be dumb. But there's some good stuff in there as far as Chucky stuff. And so throughout the whole franchise, and I have some controversial takes about this franchise. I think people, I don't know, maybe they'll be angry at me by the end of this. I don't know. But I don't hate this movie at all. But I will say it's not my favorite of this franchise. Not that we have to give all our rankings right here, but I think there's probably 2 I would put above it. And I know that's kind of a hot take, but I enjoy the franchise overall. Like you said, Nico, there is some dog shit movies in this franchise, but that's kind of all the slashers. So what do you know? I mean, you know. However, I'm just gonna say right now, Cult of Chucky can get the hell out of here. Holy shit. Okay, sorry. One per show.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and jump into the movie review, guys. The movie starts with a human version of Chucky, Charles Lee Ray. He's chased by the police. Him and the detective, they're having a shoot off. They're running, and then Charles, he's running down the street, and and like I said, there's shots fired, and his getaway partner is I think he's just in a car waiting on him. Eddie Caputo. He sees the gunshots, hears the gunshots. He says, "I got to get up out of here." So Charles Lee Ray falls. I think he gets clipped and he falls. And then Eddie Caputo's leaving. He's like, "What are you doing? Why are you leaving me?" And then so Charles Lee Ray starts to he's like, "Well, shit, I got to figure out what to do now." So he's in like the entrance of a toy store, and he breaks into it, and the detective follows him in there, and it's just another shoot off scene inside of the toy store. And then Charles Lee Ray takes a severe gunshot, and he knows he's getting ready to die soon. So he's walking around, barely getting by. He stumbles, and then he stumbles into a display of what they call the good guy dolls in this movie. And then he has a bright idea. He's like, "Oh, I know what I can do." He opens one of the boxes up, pulls his doll out, and he says this this ritual, and he transfers his soul into the Chucky doll, or excuse me, the good guy doll. And as he's doing this ritual, you know, the dark, ominous, stormy clouds come above the store. Lightning strikes it, and it blows up like it blows the glass roof up. It blows the inside all out. And the detective finds Charles Lee Ray's body there dead, but then it flashes to the good guy dolls like something else went along with it. And that's the introduction of the movie. What are you guys' thoughts on the intro of the movie, Brian?
It's the introduction to Chris Sarandon's character, the detective. He actually was previously in Fright Night before this, which actually the director Tom Holland, directed him in that before this movie. I like the character of the detective, and I really kind of like, I don't think my memory's a little hazy on the sequels, but do you see him? I don't think you see him in the second one.
No.
I kind of think you would have. I would have liked to have seen like a Loomis type character with him.
I agree with you. I was going to make that point.
Like instead of going with the Andy, history down the road with the other movies, I would have liked to have seen that. As far as this opening scene, I'm not really a great fan of how Ray is talking to himself, narrating kind of like, I gotta find somebody, I'm dying. That kind of is cheesy and took me out of it. But that chant, the chant's classic, the chant's great. I really enjoyed that part, and I really think they did a really good job on the explosion. It looked really well in this scene.
I agree with that. Go ahead, Mike. What's your thoughts on this opening scene?
I pretty much agree with everything you said. Although I do think it does a good job of kind of it's a good way to get the soul of this serial murderer into this doll character. I think it's done really well. Look, it's not like the best scene in the movie or anything, but it does set the stage, and I think it's pretty good. One thing I will say, man, it was kind of cool to see a young Brad Dourif. Man,
yeah.
I'll be honest, I'm not watching a ton of Brad Dourif movies where he's Brad Dourif outside of Rob Zombie's Halloween's, and so to see him here and then to see him in those are just like two totally different things. And no, I thought that was kind of cool. But other than that, yeah, I like the scene. Not my favorite scene, but it does set the stage for the next for the rest of the movie. I
do like how you just get right into the action, though.
I agree with you. Yep.
It's not really slow, intro. It's just bam, you're right into it. No, I liked that. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't start off slow like the producer Drew said. Don't start slow. Catch our attention as soon as you start the movie.
Opening scene is important.
Very important.
Right. This is the first one that we reviewed no, this one didn't miss. What I meant to say is we've only really had one opening scene that I thought was kind of and that would probably be Friday 4. But, whatever. I'm nitpicking. Anyway, go ahead.
No, that's cool. After the camera, shows Brad Dourif, Charles Lee Ray's dead body, and the Chucky doll, it transitions to the Barkley house, and it's early in the morning, and this kid is jacked up on Mountain Dew, guys. He is making his mom breakfast in bed. He's getting her a bowl of cereal, and he's putting about 7 pounds of sugar on it. He's and this kid he's fired up. It's his birthday morning, and he's got his eyes on this present he sees in the room, and it's a pretty big box that's wrapped up, and he's thinking, I'm getting the gift that I wanted the most. I'm getting me a good guy doll, because he's watching Good Guy on TV too, and he's dressed like a good guy. This man is a good guy fan, and his heart is set on getting a good guy doll for his birthday. So he carries his breakfast in bed to his mom. He's jumping all over her. She's like, Andy, it's 6 a.m. Get up, or why are you bothering me right now? And he's like, get up, mom. I want to go open presents. And everyone who has been a little kid has felt this pain before. So Andy goes and opens this present up, and he thinks it's about to be a good guy doll. And lo and behold, this man pulls out some jeans and some more clothes. And you can, and like Brian said about Tommy Jarvis, when the mom closes the blinds and you can feel the disappointment, you could see and feel the hurt on young Andy Barclay's face when he thought he was getting a good guy doll and all he got was clothes. He did get some good guy like accessory parts, but I mean, what's that going to do for you? You know, it's like wanting a new truck at 16 and all you got was a radio for it.
I know, man.
What you guys think about Andy Barclay in this scene with his mom? Go ahead, Mike.
Man, I don't know. Maybe because I'm watching it as an adult, 27 years old, watching this as an adult. This little kid can go to hell. Ungrateful little bastard.
Yeah.
Son of a bitch. I know he's a little kid, and if I put myself in a little kid mindset, I'd probably be like, man, what am I supposed to do with these jeans? I want toys. I want stuff I can play with, and I understand that. However, ungrateful little bastard, man. But no, I'm not. I think the child actor who plays Andy, I don't know if it's because of hindsight, and I've seen some other really good child acting in horror, but I gotta go thumbs down on him, man. I'm sorry. It doesn't take away from the movie for me, but it's definitely a glaring weakness in my opinion. And this scene kind of points that out. And the way he says Chuck E. Ugh.
Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, that's funny. Me and Nico were having that exact same discussion before he came on, and I said the exact same things about him. I think just watching Feldman and Friday 4 before this, and I know they were supposed to be portraying different age kids, I think, but it's just
the kid who played Jedediah last week.
That's true.
The
awesome. Child acting, it's just, I think it was bad in this. Let me tell you about this scene as a parent. You know, I know Catherine Hicks. You know, she plays Andy's mom. You know, from Seventh Heaven and from Star Trek 4 is actually where my nerd will come out there, but that's where I know her from. But you know, she's got good character development, during the movie. But there's going to be about 15 scenes, and this is one of them, being a little bit exaggeration, but this is definitely one scene that makes me cringe as a parent. It's like, where the hell? I mean, the kids should not be up in the middle of the house doing all this stuff. Like, I mean, like I said, just as a parent, that whole scene just makes me cringe. I'm just like, oh wow, we got Laurie Strode, terrible parent again, in this. But and the other thing that makes me cringe is come on, that's the biggest box in the thing, and you're gonna put clothes in the biggest box. I mean, Jesus Christ, as a parent, you don't do that.
Exactly.
Man. Anyway, that's my thoughts on that scene.
It's like, if you can't afford the toy right now, don't tease your kid like that.
Right.
Jesus. Like, what kind of sick parenting job is that? You just trying to piss this little kid off?
In the exact size box of what he wants.
I don't know, at least put it in a small box or something.
Right. I agree.
Or leave it in some bags or something. All right, so after Andy's really pissed off and disappointed at his mom, we flash into another scene. And now, what's her name? Karen. Karen's at work now. She works at a jewelry department store. And her friend, Maggie, shows up and says, Karen, come out here to this alley. There's a guy in the alley selling that doll that Andy wants. So they go out there, and this guy is sketchy AF, guys. Real sketchy. He's a bum, obviously, in the streets of Chicago. He got hella bad teeth. He's looking rough. He's not the kind of company you want to be talking to, but he's got this doll that her son heart is aching for. And she's like, so how much? And the doll is regular price $100, which is a lot of money back. I mean, it's still a lot of money now, but $100 is a real lot of money back then. And she ends up getting it for $30. So Karen and Maggie walk back in with the doll, and the boss says, hey, Karen, the night shift girl called out, so you got to stay all night. And she's like, what? I can't do that. I got to babysit I got to go pick my son up from daycare. And he said, well, if you want your job, you're going to stay. So Maggie volunteers to babysit for Karen. So what are you guys' thoughts on just this quick scene real quick, Brian? Just the doll, or buying the doll in the alley and all that.
I mean, it's a good scene. You know, it didn't really stand out as good or bad to me. I think that the bum looked really good. Honestly, if I want to, say something good about the scene, I think that they did a really good job with his makeup. He does look very cringy, and like you said, especially his meth teeth.
Ugh, yeah. My favorite thing about the scene is when uh, she goes, "Wait a minute, how do I know this isn't stolen?" And the bum goes, "Steal this," representing Dick, which is kind of funny. Sorry, thought that was kind of funny. Anyway, yeah, no, I like the scene, and I still think that part can still make me laugh.
Yeah, it's like you gonna be disrespectful to your customer. but
Steal
but
this.
but the boss did say that you can go home for your break, but you got to come back at 7 or whatever. So Karen goes home and takes Andy this box, and Andy's caught off guard. He's like, "Uh oh, don't screw with me again, now, Mom." So so he opens the box and it's a good guy doll. And then after this, Maggie comes home, and now it's about to start getting a little bit weird because now Andy and his good guy doll are sitting in the living room. They're playing. They both got little construction hats on. They're like doing construction with toys and all that. And then the news on the TV says how Eddie Caputo escaped out of prison, and then Aunt Maggie, as Andy calls him, says, all right, Andy, it's time for bed." And this is where you start wondering about what's going on, because Andy says, "Aunt Maggie, Chucky said he wants to watch the 9 o'clock news."
Uh-uh.
And Aunt Maggie's like, "Yeah, Chucky doesn't talk, so he wouldn't say that." So he tells Andy, she tells Andy, "All right, get your doll. We're going to bed." She tucks him in, and as they're laying there, first of all, the first thing I think of is how big Chucky's head is actually compared to
I
Andy's
know.
head.
Holy smokes, man.
So she goes back out into the living room. She's laying on the couch. Then all of a sudden, you just see a little flash of something running behind him. And so she gets up and she's kind of freaking out a little bit. And she starts walking around. She's hearing noises. She's hearing this chair move around. And she walks in, and she walks in the hallway and sees Andy's door is open. And she just assumes it's Andy walking out of the room. Oh, actually, let me skip back a part. She hears a noise, and she hears a TV cut back on, and it's just the Chucky doll sitting right there watching the news, and she thinks it was Andy who put him out there, but it wasn't him. All right, let me fast forward back to where I was now. So we hear a noise in the kitchen, and she sees like this pot of flour that's been knocked over, and she's like, "What is going on in here?" So she goes to clean it up, but then the phone rings, and she answers it, and she's like real panicky sounding because she answers the phone the second it rings, and Karen thinks like something fishy is going on, but she's just like, home alone, it's dark, panicky a little bit. So she goes to clean the flour up, then all of a sudden she hears something running on the counter, and then you just see her get hit in the head with a hammer, and she goes flailing out the window and lands right on top of a truck and crushes it. What do you guys' thoughts on Maggie's first death? Go ahead, Mike.
Man, I like it because I know what they were trying to do, but it's I don't know. It's probably hindsight. It's a little cheesy to me, the falling out of the window. Eh. What I will say is I actually think it's well acted. And I was convinced this, I could be convinced this is really happening, and so I like that they kind of don't show you exactly how it's done, but you see the hammer. I like the way they shot it. I like all the technical stuff, but I'm not a huge fan of the kill itself.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
like I was saying earlier, I think this is kind of a tale of two. Like I think this is almost the Willie Taggart of Chucky movies, where it's like it's
Some of
really
you
good
get
to
that.
it's really good to me at the very beginning, but then it kind of falls short at the end. And this to me is really good. I really like I love how they introduce Chucky. It's a unique way to introduce Chucky in this.
Is.
You've got the POV shots through his eyes, and I love how
I
they.
love that.
Right,
Love that.
yeah, and you've got Andy, saying stuff he's getting from the doll, but it doesn't actually show the doll and reveal Chucky saying that. And I think that's a really unique way that they did that. And you can almost hear Chucky cussing this aunt in his, just under his breath as she's carrying him and hitting him up against the wall, halfway, as taking him back to his room. And so, I mean, the kill is, so. It's not great. I'm more, whenever we get to the next scene, that's where I've got some things to say about kind of how much shit show that is. But I really like the introduction to Chucky in this movie for sure.
Oh yeah, I agree, and I'm sure y'all probably wrote this down as a fun fact, but whenever you see the Chucky doll run in the background, that's actually Andy Barclay's little sister, Alex Vincent's real life little sister. She's just dressed up like Chucky, and she's the one actually running.
You could tell him, yeah.
Yeah, I will give this movie credit right now that they did a good job of doing all the doll effects practically. Like there was nothing like they were inventive with all. They had little kids dress up as them in some parts, but like all the actual doll stuff is real. It's not made of that. I do like that.
And some of that was just to save money on actually making a doll run. I mean, that's almost not practical when you think about it.
Well, and I've got it written. Ed Gale actually donned that little Chucky mask too. He's like a kind of a small person, and he was actually. I mean, he's not really small though. So they actually had to blow the props up like 30% or whatever it said to make him like look a little smaller. But to me, those guys, and I know they were trying to save money, but like you said, that takes me out of it when I see that. I would rather see the animatronics because to me, like they still hold up even now.
Oh yeah, the practical animatronic stuff looks great.
Yeah, I think it looks great.
So after we see Maggie fall out of this window and onto this truck, Karen gets off work. She jumps off the bus and she sees all these cop cars outside of her apartment, and she goes running upstairs. And it's kind of funny how she just runs in her own house and it's a crime scene. They're like, "Hey, ma'am, stop! This is my house." Okay, well, go ahead and go in. So she goes in. And the detective says, the Maggie, she's dead now, and she's that's her best friend. So she starts she's crying, she's upset, she's hurt, and then she goes and finds Andy. And I think this is where Brian's going to start really roasting this kid's acting because the kid can't talk to save his life. He stutters throughout all of it.
He forgot his line.
Yeah, he's kind of like winging it as he's talking to his mom and detective. And she goes into her kitchen, she sees the broken window, and she sees like footprints on the counter, and they think it's Andy's shoes, but it's not. I mean, but he's dressed like it. But then Andy walks into his room and he sees a flower on Chucky's shoes. So he's like, he runs back to his mom and the detective and says, "I know who did it. It was Chucky." And they're like,
Chucky, like separate with a space. Oh, I know he's a little kid. I should be a little easier on him. But man, we've seen some good little kid acting here recently. So I'm comparing. Exactly. Right.
And this is where like he's just sitting down in his room and he's telling like his mom and the detective that the doll's name is really Charles Lee Ray, and that the doll said that Maggie is a real bitch and got what she deserves. And then and then she's yelling at him because she obviously thinks that Andy is saying this to himself, but she doesn't know. And we'll go ahead and stop there till we go to this cool scene. Brian, just go ahead and rip this kid's acting real quick.
It's not actually, we've already talked about the acting this much, but like and I already said I like Catherine Hicks' character development in this, how she kind of goes from like a worried about her son is doing it to kind of like a Winona Ryder, Stranger Things fighter type of thing.
Right.
But but no, like to me, it's just the writing in this scene. I mean, when she gets home, it's not really great or realistic acting to me. And then she's just like, "All right, well, y'all leave." And the cops just leave a damn murder scene in the. I mean, what? I mean, they're just too like, "Man, okay, yeah, no problem." Like we don't need to question who we think's the murderer, or it's not really a big deal. Just we'll just leave. It's not a big deal. And to me, like I think that's just the writing. I'm not a real big fan of the kids acting, except in one part of this, and we'll get to it.
Yeah, he does it good. There's one really, really good part of the end. I can't wait till we get to it. Yeah. But no, I agree with you. I don't have anything to really add except that I don't hate the scene. I almost like it more than the kill, just because the kill, the out of the window kill really threw it out. Man, okay, I'm not going to keep going backwards. But I will say that the kid's acting, again, was bad here. but I actually think the mom is good. Like outside of the thing that you were talking about with the okay, you guys can go, but I guess that doesn't count as part of this same scene, but as they leave and she's talking to Andy, I think she's actually really, really good. And I guess that's what you're about to get into, but I think that little dip, she picks back up from it.
Yeah, she is good when she's talking to Andy about the
Right.
doll and all that. I do agree with that, but she does kind of react to it all weird as soon as she gets in there. So the next day, I guess, she's already dropping the kid back off at school, like after the day after a murder, which is kind of, I guess, it's part of more writing, I guess.
Yeah.
But
Right.
she drops Andy off at school, but like the second like school starts, Chucky convinces this kid to just walk out and leave.
I
And
know.
this is the scene that I'm going to rip into later because this shit don't make no sense to me. So Chucky's leading this kid to Eddie Caputo's hiding house. Basically, I'll just go ahead and say that. But this is the city of Chicago, and this little kid Andy Barkley and this big ass doll get on a
Giant
train
head.
by themselves and just ride this train by themselves with no concerns from any adults. And they get off the train and they're walking around these he's walking by all these bums and homeless people. He's walking by these old abandoned buildings, and then Andy sits Chucky down on this rocking chair in the middle of God. I don't know what this place is. Just abandoned houses everywhere, and he's got to take a leak. So Andy, he's taking a leak, but Chucky's he's hightailing it away from this chair he's sitting on, and he runs into this house. And as soon as he walks in, he turns on the gas stove and opens the oven door or whatever, and he's got the gas leaking into the room. And this is where Eddie Caputo's hiding out after he escaped prison. And he's making noises. He's leading Eddie Caputo around this house falsely. And he leads him into the kitchen, and he doesn't shoot yet because he thinks he's just going crazy. Then he sees this little kid. He sees Andy outside of the window, and then he's like, "All right, I'm just losing my mind now." But then he hears the Charles Lee Ray laugh again in the kitchen, so he immediately just flings the door open and shoots without even seeing anything, which doesn't make sense to me at all.
No.
You just escaped prison, but you can't look before you shoot something. And I will give the movie a little bit of credit on this. I think the building blowing up looked really good.
Yeah.
Yes.
very
I
good.
think it
think
imploded awesome. And then that's the death of Eddie Caputo. And then we'll go ahead and stop right there before we jump to the next scene. Mike, what's your thoughts on this scene, real quick?
Man, I actually really I agree with you on all the train stuff. Like, no one's worried about this kid and his creepy ass little doll. And thing has a giant head. I don't know. That would stick out to me, but that's just me. I agree with you on all that, but I do like the building blowing up, and I do like the death of Caputo. Like, I think that it's really well done. And so I again would have liked to see some of these characters maybe fleshed out in sequels, but I guess when you write the first movie, you're not planning on that, so I can't complain too much. But no, I like the movie, but again, man, I'm gonna keep railing on this kid. He takes me out of this movie so many times. I'm sorry. Okay. Anyway, go ahead. I don't hate the movie. Don't hate it.
Go ahead, Brian.
No, and I really like the practical effects with the building blowing up too. So
Yes.
that's twice that looks really great. Chucky's got to run, 3.40, maybe 3.2. That dude can book it apparently out of that thing because he lit that he shot that gun, made the sound for him to shoot, and then booked it out of there and got out of there without a scratch or anything. Chucky, I know, hasn't been like as flushed out, in this movie as he is in the other ones. But like I said, I'll say it again. I really like how they're taking their time, just giving you the point of view shots through his eyes. They're not showing the doll actually talking and doing the stuff yet. And I really like that. I will say that.
Me too. Yep.
Yeah, I agree with that. This movie is a real good slow burn to me. But it kind of goes downhill later on. After the building blows up, now we're at the police station, and Detective Mike tells Karen that about what's going on with Andy and how they're going to take Andy from her if they don't figure out what's going on. And there's a doctor on site. He's going to say he can stay with me. We're going to, they're thinking the kid's crazy or losing it because he keeps saying this doll is saying this stuff, but they don't believe him yet. So Andy starts freaking out. He's like, "It's Chucky, it's Chucky." He starts slapping the doll, shaking the doll, punching the doll. He's like, "Say something, Chucky. Say it. Talk. Tell him. And, the brilliant criminal that Charles Lee Ray is, he's shutting the hell up this whole time. So like the detectives, the mom, the doctor, they're all thinking this kid is nuts. So this is where, all right, I put a note right here in my notes, like a highlighted part, that the part right here this is my favorite scene of the movie. This is where Karen takes the Chucky doll home.
Yeah.
And she sits the doll on the couch, and, she's looking at the doll. She says, "Say something." And then Chucky, he's trolling her. He says, "Hi, I'm Chucky, and I'm your friend to the end," or something like that. The normal doll talk.
Love it.
So she takes like a sigh of, "Oh God, I'm losing my mind." So she goes into the kitchen. I think she's just washing some dishes or something. Then after she gets done with that, she picks the good guy doll box up and looks at it. And then this is where the dun 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 scene happens. She picks the box up, and then the batteries for the doll. She sees on the box it says batteries included. Then the batteries fall on the floor, and she's like, "Uh-oh. This doll's been talking this whole time. We ain't putting no batteries in this thing." So she walks back in the room and picks the Chucky doll up, and she opens the back where the batteries go, and she sees there ain't no batteries. And then the doll's head goes full Exorcist and turns around on it. And I think he does a "Hi, I'm Chucky, want to play" or something like that. And it falls on the floor and then immediately rolls under the couch. And for some excuse me. And for some reason, that's not enough red flag for her to think that this doll's already alive. So she looks under the couch and picks it up, and she's looking at it. And she walks over to the fireplace and lights it. She says, "Now talk to me, damn it, or I'm gonna light you on fire." And this is where Chucky comes alive. And Chucky's like, "You stupid bitch, I'll kill you." And she's freaking out big time now. And Chucky's swinging on her, trying to punch her, and he bites her on the arm. And he gets away from her. He goes to attack her again, but then he's like, "You know what? Let me just get out of here." He runs away. He gets out of the apartment, and she can't keep up. He jumps on the elevator. She runs downstairs. She can't keep up with him. And then, she walks out of the building, and she can't see him on the street nowhere. That, to me, is my favorite scene, just the scene with Karen versus the doll, and the revelation that this doll is real. Mike, do you want to go ahead and go first? Just give us your quick thoughts on it.
Really quick, I agree with you 100%. This is my favorite scene in the movie. The reveal to everyone else that this doll is a freaking murderer. "You stupid bitch, you filthy slut, I'll teach you to fuck with me." Like, I love, man. And not even in like a funny way. I'm like, "Oh shit, this shit's hit the fan. Let's go." Like, I love that. I love that line. And by the way, I know I said it, well, I didn't say it on the show, but I hadn't seen this movie in about 8 years, so I forgot that line existed because this is not my go-to Child's Play movie. And so I was like, man, that is freaking awesome. The way that, and I think the actress here is great. I think she's great in this scene. And so the way they do it with batteries, I think is really smart. It's well done. They shoot it well with the head. Bravo. This is my favorite scene in the movie. And one of my favorite scenes in the whole franchise.
I agree. Go ahead, Brian, your quick thoughts on this.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. This is the high point of this movie. This is the high point probably of the whole entire franchise, to be honest with you. And it's by far the best scene in this movie. And Brad Dourif is his voice of Chucky, is as much Chucky as, England is Freddy. I'm not interested in any Chucky movie without him in it. He makes Chucky. And, this scene in particular, the is a great reveal. The tension that has built up over the whole movie by not showing it, but you still have a little bit of tension when the doll's around. It's at its best whenever she drops it under the couch, and now she's got to look under the couch, and you're like, oh, is she about to get stabbed in the eye? What's about to happen to this chick? So I think everything about this scene was brilliant and perfect.
Oh yeah, I love how the doll goes from just the doll face to the. I read a small article about how how the doll kept aging as the movie goes on, as it became more and more human or whatever. I thought that was really cool.
Yep.
But I actually think the next scene is pretty good too. The movie does go downhill towards the end, in my opinion, but I really like this next scene too, or the next couple of scenes as a unit. After Chucky gets away, she jumps in a taxi to go see the detective, and the detective's walking out of the police department or whatever, and she's like, "Andy wasn't lying. Andy was telling the truth. The doll is alive." He's like, "Go home. You're nuts." So she pulls her coat sleeve up and she shows, "Look, the damn doll bit me in the arm." It's like, so, and the detective still doesn't believe her, and then she's pissed off obviously because she knows what she just went through, but he still doesn't believe her. And so she goes to walk away, and he goes, "Where are you going? Where are you going?" She says, "I'm going back to this alley where I bought it from the guy so I can find out what happened to this doll, or what's up with this doll." And he's like, "Ma'am, it's a bad part of town this time of night." She's like, "I'm finding out what's happening." So she just splits. And she goes to this alley and she finds there's a lot of homeless people there around, like trash can fires. And she finds the guy she bought the doll from, and she's asking him like where he got this doll from. He's like, he stole it from the toy store. But then he tries to get a little. He goes to rape this woman. I really don't like talking about rape, but he tries to rape her. But
Right.
the detective shows up and pulls a gun on him. And this is where the detective finds out that he got the doll from the same place he killed Charles Lee Ray at. And what are you guys' thoughts on just this quick scene, real quick? Go ahead, Brian.
I like how quickly they have kind of, all right, well, now we know it's Chucky, now we know this doll, or at least we're getting really close, and it's not something they drug out for 2 hours worth of movie. I'm glad that it was quick
Right,
to the
I
punch
agree.
there.
Right. Because we already know as an audience, and so I
Right.
do like that we've already that the discovery has already been made. Now it's just getting everybody else to believe it. And I actually do like. I mean, I don't like the rape part, but I do like I do like this scene a lot. I think it sets up the detective finding out well, and I think as far as it's like you mentioned earlier, turning the mom into a fighter and not believing her son anymore, kind of like Winona Ryder in Stranger Things, like you said, where she's all right, screw this, I'm taking up for my son, and so
Right.
I think this scene does that really well. Like she's willing to go downtown Chicago, middle of the night, to find out what the hell is going on with this doll, and I think they do a good job setting up the next scene with this scene.
Yeah, that you don't mess with a mom's kid because
That's right.
they'll kill you over it. I know my mom would.
That's right.
Right.
So after the detective gets Karen out of there, he begins to say, I know that Charles Lee Ray is dead because I'm the one who killed him in that that toy store where it happened. So she drops Karen off at her house, and he goes back to the police station and he gets the file of Charles Lee Ray. And as he gets back in his car, he's driving. Then all of a sudden, Chucky's in the car with him. And this is the scene I was telling you about. I really like the reveal scene of both the two adult main characters. He's in the car. Chucky reveals himself to the detective. He starts strangling him with some jumper cables. And and of course, if you're just driving and all of a sudden you're getting strangled by a dog, you're going to be freaking the hell out. So he's choking, but he gets the car lighter. He pushes it in. I know a lot of people don't know about this, but older cars had car lighters that came with them.
Oh
He
yeah.
pushes it in, gets it hot, and he burns Chucky on the face. And Chucky falls into the back seat. But then he starts stabbing a butcher knife through the back of the seat, and he can't quite hit him. But then he gets under the seat, and he starts. Then it shows that the butcher knife coming right by his crotch, and no man is trying to get that kind of a.
No.
Yeah, nobody wants that right there. So I thought this chase, or not chasing, but this driving scene was really cool. He's driving like through these really tight.
Yep.
I don't like, it's like a hole, I don't know what it's called, but it's like a passway or through. He's like hitting into the concrete, and eventually driving this fast, hitting the brakes, driving that fast, he loses control and the car flips over. And, he's upside down, and he's got his gun out. He's kind of stuck right now, and you just see Chucky toying with him. He's just running around. He starts laughing. He jumps in, goes to stab him, but he misses. And, and the detective shoots at him a couple times and misses. But he finally does get a good shot on him, and then Chucky, after he gets shot in the chest area, he runs away. What are you guys' thoughts on the Chucky reveal scene to the detective?
I think it's dumb for me to nitpick like a scene in a movie about a doll being possessed by voodoo, but like if I'm trying to nitpick, I mean, first thing I said, like, why he was being choked, hit the brakes. That solves all your problems. Like, just hit the brakes, stop the car. Chucky gets slung to the front, like, boom, end of scene. But I understand that you got to
Right.
build the tension. I understand, but to me, like, that was my first thought that went through it. But I did like the knife stabbing through the seat. I liked him having to avoid it, just as far as tension building.
Right.
Is it realistic? No. Is the movie realistic? No. But it was good little tension building scene.
I was gonna say, I mean, and this isn't the first one. There are some unrealistic scenes in this movie, but again, we are watching a movie where a doll is killing people, and so I hate to nitpick it from that standpoint. But I do agree. I kept watching like, man, that wouldn't happen, but it does build good suspense as far as building to something. I think it does a good job with that. Again, not my favorite scene, but I like it. And by the way, it's because I really like the character of Detective Caputo. Like
Same.
I think he's good, and so more of him and Chucky going back and forth would be great. And so that's why I like this scene.
Oh yeah, I agree. I just think it's so cool how he's just driving and all of a sudden he's just getting
Oh,
choked
I
with
love
the
that.
jumper cable.
I love that.
It's like, yeah, you believe me now, huh? Well, after it shows that Karen is going to where Charles Lee Ray used to live, she's just going to look around, see if she can find out if there's any secrets about this guy. And Detective Mike shows up with a picture of John, the voodoo man. Then and Mike tells Karen, all right, this is who we got to go see to figure out what's going on with this doll. But Charles Lee Ray is one step ahead of him already. Chucky is already at the voodoo man's house, and he says, John, how do I get out of this body? And he's like, I'm not going to tell you, but then Chucky says, this is what you don't do. You don't tell everybody your own weaknesses. So he has a voodoo doll of John's actual self. So he's like, he breaks his arm, then he falls over, and then he's still not telling him. Then he breaks his leg, and he's in a ton of pain. So he says, all right, I'll tell you. And the reason that Chucky went there is because when he got shot by Detective Mike, he said, listen, John, that shit hurt. It felt
that
real.
Shit hurt it.
And then John reveals to him that the longer you're in that Chucky, or the longer you're in that doll, the more human you become. And eventually you will be stuck in that body if you don't get out soon. So he's like, how do I get out of this body? And he says, the only way that you can get out is to transfer your soul into the first person that you told about you being in the doll. And then Chucky starts laughing. It's actually really cool seeing, this doll just talking to him and starts laughing. He's like, oh, great, I'm going to be 6 years old again. Ha, 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 ha. And then he says, well, John, I'm off to go be a kid again. And he takes his knife and stabs the voodoo doll right in the heart. And then you just see John, his whole body flinch up. He grabs his chest and he dies. I really like that scene personally.
Yeah,
Brian, what's your thoughts on this scene?
Yeah, I'll say that I'll go ahead and spoil it. This is my favorite kill in this movie, where honestly the kills kind of lack, in a horror movie.
Yep.
But this is my favorite one. The breaking of the legs and stuff kind of reminded me of the new Blair Witch Project movie. And if you've seen that movie, you know what scene I'm talking about. I really like the acting in this. This is Chucky. This is Brad Dourif at his best, and I know it gets better in other movies with his one-liners, but just hearing him, he hit it right out of the park first movie.
Yep, go ahead, Mike.
Okay, a couple things, and this scene kind of reminded me of a couple facts that I learned through researching the movie. It took 11 people to control Chucky. Like a total of 11 people just get him to move around. And so every time I watch this scene, I'm kind of reminded, man, they had to do a lot of damn work to get this. And I'm literally watching the leg breaking scene right now. So
I'm almost to it. I have it playing
Yeah,
in the background too. Yeah.
I love this kill. I think it's awesome.
hmm
And by the way, Don Mancini never liked this voodoo storyline, but
Right.
I actually don't think it's bad. Like I think it's okay. It was a way to get uh, it was a way to get Brad Dourif into the Chucky doll, and so
Right.
I kind of like it. I know he never did. And by the way, this was originally called Batteries Not Included, the original script when it was
hmm
written, and so that I don't know, that almost might have made a cooler title than Child's Play. But anyway, uh,
After it shows John, clenching up and dying, Detective Mike and Karen, their goal was to go find this guy, and but they get to his house and he's already almost dead. And the only thing that John can get out to tell him is to shoot him in the heart or hit him, kill him through the heart. And now after John tells them how to kill the Chucky doll, we're at the doctor's place. I guess it's like a psych ward or something, I guess. And we're in Andy's room and he's looking outside of his window and he sees the doll climbing up the stairs and he's like, he's gonna get me, he's gonna get me, he's gonna get me. I actually think Andy's decent acting in this part.
right. Yeah.
It's
No, I agree.
he's not the panicky little stuttering kid like he was when the detective scene.
Right.
But he's beating on this door. He's trying to get the nurse or the doctor to come in. He's like, Chucky's after me, Chucky's after me. And nobody's paying attention to him, so he keeps looking out the window and he just sees Chucky getting higher and higher up each level. And then we're seeing from Chucky's point of view. He looks in this window and he sees like a warden, I guess, on staff, and he sees the keys to the place sitting right there on the desk. So Chucky just sneaks in somehow and grabs these keys, and he gets into Andy's room, but Andy's hiding. And, I think he just knocks him over real quick and he sneaks out and grabs the keys real quick. And the thing I didn't understand is he grabs the keys and just didn't shut the door behind him. He just ran off. I didn't really understand why he looked at Chucky there, but he didn't shut the door. But anywho, he goes running down the hallway and he goes in this room. Like, it looks like a lab room, I guess, because there's like experimental stuff. There's knives, like scalpels and all that crap. But somehow, Andy's just in this room by himself, walking around. He's got a scalpel in his hand, and he's just backing into everything. He just keeps walking into all this stuff. But then, as he backs into this last thing, Chucky jumps on top of him. He goes to attack him. But then the doctor comes in, and he's like, calm down, Andy, calm down. He's trying to give him some drugs to calm him down. But then you see Chucky, from his point of view, run up behind the doctor and stab him right in the back of the leg.
I love
And he
that kill. I love
He
all
dro-
this.
He drops down. He falls to the ground. And then, I don't know what the machine is actually called, but he sticks one of those things that you put on a patient's head, and it, like, shocks the hell out of him. And you just see this guy getting shocked over and over and over, and he's, like, getting fried and crisped. And you just see this body twitching, and his face is black, and his eyes and nose and mouth is bleeding. What are you guys' thoughts on that kill real quick? Go ahead, Brian.
Okay, I changed my mind. This is probably my favorite kill.
Who are you? Hey, wait, that's my. That's
You're
my
doing
guess.
Mike now.
Hey, that's my.
I'm gonna go back. I'll go back. But I will. I said this. I got it written in my notes. I gave him crap for his acting, and I will continue to give him crap for his acting in the rest of the movie. But this particular scene,
Yes.
I think Andy's, did great acting. I really, his crying on cue was realistic. I think this whole scene to me is the last part of the decent part of this movie. I think it all goes downhill after this, to be honest with you. And one thing I will say, like, the Chucky, I think, never really resonates with a lot of people unless they sit down and watch it, because I think there's like, oh, that's not scary. I would punt that little fucker, and
Right.
That's always what everybody always says. And there's obviously the end of this movie. There's a great scene to punt the dude, and it doesn't happen. But
Wow. Yes.
but this movie, I think, does a good job of knowing that is, something that hinders the Chucky character. And I really like how they, use him to sneak around, cut people's legs, like do stuff that don't put him in the position to have been kicked for most of this movie anyway.
Agree. I agree with that. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I agree with Hunter. I don't have a whole lot to add. I really like the kill with you touched on the how they killed the doctor, correct?
Yes.
Okay, that's all I had to add. That is probably my second favorite kill. in the movie. I love it, man. I think it's cool. And again, this movie kind of lacks for kills, and I've shit on some other movies for lacking in creative kills, so I do have a little bit of a nitpick with that. But I mean, it's 1984. By the way, what a year for horror! 1984, some pretty good movies. Anyway, I like this kill. I like the scene, but like Brian said, after this, I have some bones to pick. But I will give them credit for this. I'll give the little kid credit for this. I think he does really well in this scene. He carries the scene, in my opinion. And I know that Chucky's kind of the focal point, but I actually think the kid holds his weight here.
Yeah, and before I go into this next scene, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Right here is where this movie it goes from unbelievable to super unbelievable. It makes no damn sense all right, I'll just go into it. The detective and Karen show up to find that Andy has escaped from this hospital. And Andy, in the middle of downtown somewhere in Chicago, can manage to find out how to get from this hospital all the way back to his house. And he's hiding in the closet. And this is actually a really funny scene to me, where Chucky is in the elevator and there's this older couple in there, and the guy's like, somebody forgot their doll, and or the female says somebody forgot their doll, and the husband's like, they'll come back and get it, and the woman says, it's an ugly doll. And as the elevator closes, and Chucky just goes, fuck off, or something. Yeah. I always get a good laugh when he says, fuck off. And Andy's just hiding. He's hiding in the closet, but he's like messing with all these different toys. He's just looking at them. Then he eventually just settles on grabbing this baseball bat.
So ridiculous.
And then he leaves. Then he leaves the closet to like just hide around. And then it goes to it shows us the fireplace, and you see Ash falling down, and then Chucky falls down into it like Santa Claus. And then we get a little chase scene, and Andy gets a good lick on Chucky, but then they start chasing around the house. But he gets a good hit on Chucky, but then he drops the bat and runs away.
Oh. And by the way, real quick, before you keep going, how the hell did Chucky even get here? I know you question how the kid got there, but how the hell did Chucky get here that quick? He's a doll.
3-5-40, dude, and it's nonstop.
He's freaking Usain Bolt, man.
Hey, y'all remember a few years back that Olympic runner or whatever with the metal legs or whatever?
Yeah, I guess that's And
they were protesting it because like, how is he gonna get tired? It's like he's got no leg. All right, that's dumb different, but all right. So Chucky gets the bat and he sneaks up on Andy because Andy's just a dumb little kid. He can manage to get from the hospital back to his house, but he can't like walk around his own damn house without bumping into everything. So Chucky clocks him in the back of the head, and Andy's knocked out. So Chucky starts doing the "Oe Dumbalab," the chant, and he's almost done with this chant. You see the clouds forming, but then Karen and the detective break in, and they rip Chucky off of him. But then this is where the detective gets his leg got by Chucky. Chucky sneaks up on him, stabs him in the leg. Do you guys got any thoughts on just this quick scene real quick before we get into the final part?
Dude, this whole end of this to me, it just drives me crazy. And most importantly, that there's so many chances to just punt this fucker. But the thing that bothers me the most about this end is that cut on the detective that you just saw. He's fine walking around like it doesn't even hurt him. Everything's good and dandy, and then suddenly it just paralyzes the dude, like out of nowhere. He's paralyzed and can't even move anymore. Like it just can't even leave. He's on the floor, can't even get up anymore. After, shit. I mean, he was just walking around on the same exact cut off his leg, 10 minutes ago. So that to me drives me crazy because I think that, and I get it. I get it. They had to take him out of it, I think, to make it a little bit more tense, a little bit more realistic, because, he probably would have made short work of Chucky, honestly, if he was walking around and doing the same thing. I get it, but it takes me out of it.
Go ahead, Mike.
I don't have a whole lot to add as far as the scene because I kind of agree with everything you both said. But I will say I will give them a little bit of credit in the midst of shitting on them here. The way they continue to age Chucky little by little, I think it's really cool. Like, I think that's a really cool thing that if you notice it, you notice it. If you don't, you don't. But the way they kind of make him look more human and then more like Charles Lee Ray, I think that's really well done. But the scene itself is, it only gets worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and, and like Brian said, Mike gets like cut in the leg and he falls down, but Chucky runs off. But now Mike's like walking around looking for him, trying to find him,
Right.
and then Karen comes out of nowhere and shoots him, and and then he hits Mike with the baseball bat, and this is a pretty cool scene, even though Andy's horrible in it. Karen grabs a hold of Chucky and throws him in the fireplace, and she puts up like I guess the fire, what is that, the guard or whatever, I guess, and she's like struggling to hold this doll in there, and Andy, being the useless kid that he is, just stands there and just watches his mom struggling to hold this fireplace guard with Chucky in it. But she manages to turn the gas on, and Andy eventually snaps out of it and quits being useless. And he grabs the match, and he lights the match up, and he throws it in there. This is actually a pretty cool scene, real quick.
Yeah,
But
it
before he throws the match in, Chucky says, "We're friends to the end." Then Andy goes, "This is the end, friend." He doesn't stutter. He
I
doesn't
do like
stutter this
that.
time. Go ahead, Mike.
No, I actually really like that. I love the little line, and I don't mind this I don't mind this scene. I know I
As a-
just said it gets worse, but
Yeah.
it's not terrible. It's about to come up here in a little bit, but I'm not like a big fan of it. It's kind of silly, but I do enjoy it, especially the one liner from Andy.
Yeah, the ending to me is kind of like a buffet.
Right.
Like there's a good piece, but then the item right beside it
Right.
sucks. Then you get, oh, there's a good piece. Then it's like bad, good, bad, good. And then this is
And
actually
really
cool.
quick.
Go ahead.
When did Chucky become a cannibal? He tries to. I know he bit the mom earlier, but he tries to bite her neck like a vampire like 4 times here in the last 15 minutes. Like that's all he can do. He just goes right for her neck like he's a cannibal. I don't know. I always thought that was kind of weird.
Yeah, and what bothers me is that they're holding him. The mom's holding him in there with that cage, and I kind of got the hint, or kind of got the vibe that he's like, kind of pretty strong, given how he was choking that detective, with those wires, and he wasn't able to even move or hold him off or do anything. Like he kind of gave me that vibe. He was a little strong, but in this particular scene, he's not. But I will give them a huge props on what Ed Gale, I believe is what I wrote down, was the actor that was in the little Chucky suit, on fire for that whole amount of time. They actually lit him on fire for that scene.
Oh shoot, I didn't know that. Poor fella. Yeah, Chucky's on fire. He's in the living room. He breaks out of the cage. It is cool seeing Chucky on fire walking through his living room. He's screaming. He's panicking. He's a lot different than Andy from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. He gets his whole leg cut off and screams once, and then he doesn't make another noise.
Right.
Chucky
right.
is like on fire. He is like screaming. Like he's actually acting normal. He's
Right.
screaming. And then he eventually, he falls out, and they think he's dead. So Mike is in the other room laid out, and he calls for Karen and Andy. So they just leave Chucky there, and they go in there to check on him. And then, they're talking to Mike, and then the mom says, "Andy, go get the first aid kit from the under the sink or whatever." So Andy walks into the kitchen to get this first aid kit, and he sees that Chucky's dead body or burnt body isn't laying there no more. And Andy drops the first aid kit, and he's like, "Oh, I got to go back to my mom." So he takes off running, and Chucky trips him. And this is where Andy gets on my nerves again, because this whole time he could he's had no problem talking loud enough to hear this whole time, but all of a sudden he's like, "Mom, Mom," and then Andy. He eventually gets up and yells, and he shuts the door, but you see Chucky almost get in. I actually kind of like this little back and forth scene between the two doors. Personally, I kind of like it. Like I said, it's a buffet. It's shit good.
Right.
So Karen's she's blocking this door, but then she doesn't feel anything fighting on the other end. So she's like, he's going to the other side. So it shows Chucky running into the bathroom to come in through the bathroom door. So she closes that door and is holding it closed. And, Chucky's fighting on it, but then he takes his knife and starts stabbing through the door. And he cuts the mom's hand. And she, the blade is going right by her face too. So she's really in danger right now. And do y'all got any quick thoughts on this scene real quick? Just the chase scene?
I actually really like Burns Chucky for some reason.
Yeah.
I'm kind of a fan. And I like I I'm okay. It's kind of like you said. There's good, there's bad, there's good, there's bad. Because I actually really like the scene where the knife comes through the door and the
Hmm.
mom's on the other side. I actually kind of like that scene. That or that part of the scene. I think it's pretty good. So I mean, again, there's some not so great stuff in the chase, like Andy just being a idiot kid. But anyway, but yeah, man, that's that's about all I have. I actually really like Burn Chucky. I need to
Yeah,
repeat that. I think he's kind of scarier. Burn.
yeah. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think that actually in the later movies when he's got this, stitch on his face and he's
Yes.
scarred up, like he looks better. He looks much better, and I agree with you on that. I agree. I don't think I have a whole lot to add, from what Nico said. I like that part of the scene, and then the whole time I'm sitting there going, "Oh, cool, the detective's, paralyzed now, laying on the floor, has
Right.
no help to this entire situation whatsoever, with two guns, or maybe he's just got one. It doesn't matter, but still."
Yeah, he's kind of like Stu and Scream. You cut me deep, man. You
Yeah.
can't move. But Chucky runs away from this door. He's in the hallway, but then Karen grabs a gun, and this is where this movie just gets ridiculous to me. She shoots the doll's head off, and it goes flying down the hall. But he's still like walking after her. Then she shoots his arm off. Then she shoots his leg off, and the doll is just like crawling towards him. And this is the part that kind of confuses me because John the Voodoo Man said if you shoot this doll through the heart, it'll die.
Right.
She is clearly right above Chucky and shoots him in the back, which is right where the heart should be, right? Like she shoots him 2 more times as the doll's just laying there. Then the other detective comes in and he sees what's going on. He sees Detective Mike is down, so he calls an ambulance. And the Detective Mike tells the other detective she was telling the truth the whole time. The doll's alive. So he goes out there, and the detective says, "Don't touch the body." Blah 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 blah. So he picks the head up as a joke. He feels it's rubber still. He takes it in there. He's like tossing it back and forth between his hands, like juggling it. Then he stands right by this vent, and like somehow this body with one arm and one leg manages to crawl into the air vents, breaks through, and grabs this dude by the neck. And the head is right there on like a dresser or whatever. And it's funny. It's kind of funny.
It's
The head is like, strangle him, kill them all. And this grown man finally is strong enough to get this one arm, one legged, no headed body of a doll thrown off of him against the wall. And it's funny because now Karen finally shoots his doll through the heart. He shoots him through the heart. And you see the body flash back into the wall, and you see the blood spray, and then you hear the one last "Hi, I'm Chucky, wanna play?" and it dies out. And then they ask the other detective, "So do you believe us now?" And he's like, "Yeah, but who's gonna believe me?" And then as they're walking out of the room, Andy kind of pauses and just looks at the dead body of the doll, or whatever, one last time. Then they walk out of the room and the movie's over. So what do you guys' thoughts on the very final? I think this junk is dragged out way too long.
they
Yeah.
they kill him and bring him back too many times.
Exactly.
Let's just get rid of the damn doll here. Okay?
Yeah.
Like I mean, and it's not that it's done poorly, it just takes so long. And again, I'm not a huge fan of a tiny doll having more strength than a grown ass man. So
Yeah.
him coming through the vent and trying to rip his head and rip his neck is kind of it's just something I can't buy. And so seeing that looks a little silly. He's like it just doesn't come across well. Again, it's not that it's a bad decision. It's just they took forever to. He's dead. Oh, he's not dead. Oh, his head's off. He's dead for sure now. Oh, wait, no, he's not dead. His body can live on its own. And like, I just think it takes entirely too long to get there. And again, the very, very end, with Andy just kind of looking at the doll and then them walking out of the room. I don't know. I kind of expected more since this movie kind of like keeps giving us false endings, which became a trope later on. These the false endings. I expected more, but nope. Just Andy, just leaving the room. We'll see you, buddy. And then the last shot is Andy's little face through a crack. I don't know. Not a fan of the ending. It takes too long. It's kind of dull. But again, this isn't my favorite Chucky movie. they do a lot better as the series go. Well, the first couple movies.
Yeah.
Pump
Right.
brakes.
Yeah. The first 2 or 3 sequels I actually really like. But yeah, I mean, not awful, but it kind of, I know we're talking about a killer doll here, but it's kind of unbelievable to me.
Yeah. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, and the mom's got a clip in that 357 Magnum. That thing's got 20 bullets in
Yeah.
it. She was just going left and right shooting that thing off. But and I will say I was like whenever the mom kind of took the detectives out of the room and just left Andy in there with the baby or with the doll again, I was like, are you kidding me? Like, great mother moment number 15 by this girl. You just after went through all that and just I'm gonna leave Andy in there with the doll one more time. But she did turn around at least and come back and get him. So I will give her a little bit of props on that. But it was almost like they just didn't, they wrote this movie and almost didn't know how to end it. And, I tried to do some research thinking, man, there had to be some sort of, how they always fight back and forth about endings and this and have directors versus the writers and stuff. And I couldn't find anything about it. I just really think it was just poorly written, the ending.
Yeah. And I agree. And by the way, in one of these scenes towards the end, they set Ed Gale, which is the guy playing, the guy that had to play Chucky in a couple scenes, they accidentally set him on fire.
Yeah, during the fireplace.
Right,
scene,
right. During the fireplace scene, they picked him up and they accidentally dropped him about 6 to 8 feet. It hurt his back, and then he ended up getting set on fire for a little bit. So not only was it poorly written, it was poorly executed. Not to shit on you guys. I'm sure you make other great movies, but and you could do better than I can do. But I'm just letting you know. Oof, toughie.
Well, I got a few fun facts, and if y'all got some, I'll read them off. The first one I have wrote down, we've already said. It was just Alex Vincent's younger sister was actually dressed as a doll in the scene with Maggie where he runs in the hallway. Number 2, which is I'm sure all of us have wrote down, Chucky's name, Charles Lee Ray, is derived from the names of 3 different notorious serial killers: Charles Manson, Lee Harvey Oswald, the assassin of John F. Kennedy, and James Earl Ray, the assassin of Martin Luther King. And this is one that Mike brought up earlier. The original title of the film was going to be Batteries Not Included, but that was before. That would have been a good title, honestly. But that was before they knew that Spielberg was making that movie with that same name. Then they changed the name to Blood Buddy. Then they settled on Child's Play.
Well, Child's Play is better than Blood Buddy.
Yeah, it is. Batteries Not Included, I think, would have been the best.
Me too.
But Child's Play is definitely way better than Blood Buddy. Do y'all have any fun facts y'all wrote down? Did you want to read off?
Yeah, I've got actually that Don Mancini was actually inspired by the Cabbage Patch Kids.
Which is
which was a big thing back in the 80s for this. And the last one I have is that Jessica Walter was actually almost the voice of Chucky. That they wanted to almost go her route because of her voice acting in The Exorcist. And so that's fun facts I had.
That's cool. Mike, do you have any facts or anything wrote down you want to say?
The only one I really have is that this was originally supposed to include a theme song for Chucky. Like, he was a toy, and so it goes with the theme song. So not to it's been out long enough, so spoiler. If you're never going to see it, it won't matter anyway. But they actually include that in the remake. And so that was a nice little look. I know we're going to shit on the remake someday, but I thought that was kind of cool. But anyway, yeah, that's pretty much all I have that you guys didn't have. One thing I wanted to touch on, though, this score is not memorable to me. So unforgettable that I forgot it had one.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think they use it effectively like a lot of the other slash movies do. Or there's no signature sound score that they use. And so I'm a big fan of that, and so that's another critique that I have. Again, we've gone back and forth on Twitter all week. Everyone thinks I'm going to hate this movie. I don't hate this movie. However, 20 or 30 whatever years later, it hasn't. It's okay, but it hasn't aged as well as some of the other ones in the some of the other ones that I like more in the franchise, like 3. But anyway, yeah.
Y'all want to do our favorite kill and least favorite kill and rate it real quick?
Sure.
I'll go first. Favorite kill, I'm going to go with Brian's first favorite kill. I I picked the Voodoo Man.
Yeah.
I wrote down. I thought it was a unique kill. I thought it looked painful as hell watching his arm and leg just snap. And then when you see Chucky stab it in the heart, and you see the blood coming out of his chest. I thought it was just unique, and I like the scene as a whole. Honestly, I like seeing the doll interacting with the John the Voodoo Man. I thought it as a whole was cool. My least favorite kill. This might be controversial, but it's Chucky. And I wrote, it's not horrible. It just took so damn long to get to it. And it's so, I mean, it sounds weird saying it's unbelievable how it took to kill a doll. But, I mean, he got lit on fire. He got his head blown off. He got his arm blown off. He got his leg blown off. He got shot in the back twice.
Right.
He managed to climb into an air vent. Then he gets shot in the chest again. It's just too much for me. It was too drug out. I mean, Maggie's death, you could say it's probably maybe worse or whatever, but just Chucky's doll, that death just took too long to me. In my rating of the movie, I gave it an 8. I said I wrote down I really liked the film, and I think this is what gave me the conclusion to give it an 8. I thought it was a big time genre changer because it was something totally different. Because all of your other slashers besides this one, were just big men with masks or Freddy. This is a doll and it's killing people and it's different. And I also wrote down, I guess this is a nostalgia factor, but Chucky scared the hell out of me as a little kid. I was terrified of Chucky. I mean, Jason was the first one I watched and was scared of, but I was scared of Chucky for a long time. I liked Andy as a kid, but I thought he was annoying kind of as an actor.
Yep.
And here's my nitpick: just Andy and Chucky on a train in Chicago by themselves, nobody saying nothing, everybody just letting this fly. I thought that was stupid. That really was a big nitpick of mine. And how he's just able to walk around Chicago, finding all these houses, blah, blah, blah. It just didn't make no sense. And the last but not least, I wrote down, I love the slow burn and build up and the reveal of Chucky as a doll. Mike, do you want to go next?
My favorite kill is Voodoo Man.
Yeah.
And my least favorite is Maggie, or as I like to call it here in my notes, that bitch that fell through the window. But yeah, man, that kill didn't do anything for me, but I really, really, really like the voodoo kill. And by the way, I don't hate the killing of Chucky. It just, like you said, took way too damn long to get to the actual death and bye-bye Chucky. Like, it just took so long to get there, and so that kind of ruins the kill for me. I give this movie a 7.5, and I know people's like, man, that's low. You're lowballing it. Well, here's the thing. I didn't grow up with this movie. I have no nostalgia for the movie. This isn't my favorite Chucky movie, and I know I have one higher than it that a lot of people hate. If we ever do Child Play rankings, which we don't have to because I don't know if anyone's clamoring for it, but if we ever get to, I have one that a lot of people don't like higher than this, and I have one that I think general consensus can kind of say that it's really, really close with the original and this one. But anyway, 7.5. I still like the movie. I enjoy it every time I watch it. I hadn't watched it in a while because it's not my go-to, but I did enjoy it. I think it's got some really good. The scene, the reveal to Chucky, to the mom is really well done. It's a highlight of the franchise. I think that's awesome, and I think Brad Dourif is great. Like you said, nobody, and Mark Hamill tried. He couldn't really do a great job, and so Brad Dourif is Chucky the same way that Robert Englund is Freddy, and anybody else playing him is kind of a step back. And so I thought he was great here. Hell, I thought he was great as normal person, Charles Lee Ray. So I think that he kind of makes the movie for me because Andy's acting is so bad, or the kid who plays Andy's acting. But yeah, man, enjoyable film. Not my favorite of the franchise. I thought I sold all week that I wasn't going to shit on it, but maybe I ended up doing that, and I apologize.
Hey, a 7.5. I mean, that's a. Hey, C's get degrees is what I always heard. That's a C.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, it's between 7 and 7.5. It's still thumbs up. Like, it's not a. I'm not giving it a 5 or 4 or 3 or anything. I can still watch it and get enjoyment for sure.
It's like you said about Halloween 5. It's not hot steaming garbage.
No, it's not. It's not hot steaming garbage.
Go ahead, Brian.
Oh, it's significantly a better movie than Halloween 5. What the
Yeah.
hell? Holy.
Man, I mean, like I said, I mean, I've given Brad Dourif all kinds of credit this podcast, and he deserves it because I mean he carries this movie. Even though he carries the movie once the reveal is made and his voice starts coming out and really the personality of Chucky comes out. I haven't seen this movie in 20 something years. It was never anything that was, I guess I always had the same tropes as everybody else with it, just, oh, hey, I could always punt that thing. But, looking at it with an adult eye for the first time in 20 something years,
Right.
I'll give it credit. I was really impressed with how they didn't put him in that position, for that to be the case. My favorite kill is, I'll stick with what I said first time, the voodoo guy kill. My least favorite kill, and I don't hate it, but it was, it's the first kill, the same as Mike's, with the ant being pushed out the window. And I don't hate it. It's just lack of kills in this movie. There just really isn't hardly any kills in this movie, to be honest with you, once you sit down and start, trying to hammer around and find out your favorite. I'm going to rank this thing a 6.5. You talk about 7.5 being low, and I was like, oh, geez, wait till you hear mine. But
I'm sorry.
But I don't hate it either. It's just, man, it's all right. It's not something I want to go sit down and watch. But I'm just never been a huge fan of the Chucky franchise. If I'm going to go sit down and watch one of the Chucky movies, it's going to be probably Curse of Chucky. That's probably my favorite one. If I'm going to sit down and just actually, hey, pick one and sit down and watch. So
I'm about to get shit on real quick because I'm gonna say
Go ahead.
someone's not gonna like what I'm about to say because I don't know if we'll ever do a Child's Play ranking, so I'm just gonna say it. If I'm gonna sit down and watch a Chucky movie, it's Bride.
Oh gosh, it's entertaining.
Yeah,
It's not good, but it's entertaining.
Right. It's Scream with a doll. To me, it's very meta.
It's super meta.
In case you can't tell, I'm a big fan of meta horror, and so I really like Bride. I also like Curse. I think Curse is really good as well, and I think Child's Play 3 is really good. So, but I also like this movie. It's good. It's good. It's just not my favorite of the franchise, and it's definitely better than Cult or Curse. Excuse me. Oh wait, no, Cult.
Yeah, Colt. Mike, I'm not calling you out. I'm just trying to make sure you're talking about the right one. When you say Child's Play 3, do you mean 2?
No, I like 3 and 2.
Because 3 is the one where they go to the military camp, and that one's just I like this. The second one is probably my favorite.
I love 2 and 3. I'm a big fan of 3. I don't know why.
Three's not horror. 3 is an Oscar winner compared to compared to Seed of Chucky and
Seed.
and Cult.
Dude. I know we've shit on Cult. Seed might be worse. Seed's probably worse.
Well, I think. Go ahead.
No, go ahead,
that franchise, I think, would have been better, honestly, if you would have, maybe thrown in Andy some, but if you would have had this detective be the Loomis, the Halloween.
I agree, man.
Loomis of this franchise and kind of carried it on. You wouldn't have had to explain it to the audience. You could have just used. He already knows the backstory. He already knows what's going on. He's hunting him. He can be the one to kind of give that. Tell the audience or tell the people in the movie what the audience already knows. And I think that would have made the series better. I know, like I said, Chucky wasn't flushed out in this one. I don't think they really knew what they had, but, the one-liners get better. The character of Chucky gets better through the movies, but the movies don't. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it does. I'm gonna be like Mike, as he always thanks the good-looking women in the movies that we review. Bride of Chucky does that very well because I'm extremely attracted to Jennifer Tilly.
I'm about to say it's got Jennifer Tilly, man. Even in doll form, Jennifer Tilly is not bad, man.
Yeah, but Jennifer Tilly is smoking hot to me. So I'm all aboard on that one, Mike.
I'm just telling you.
I don't know what to say about that, Mike.
I didn't see it when I was, like you said, like back when we were watching, wrestling on Mondays. They would have those commercials in there, but I didn't see the movie because I was a big scaredy cat. but that movie reminds me of that time period, and I have a lot of
Mhm.
nostalgia for that time period. So that's probably
Yep.
really why I enjoy it as much as I do. And
No,
again, like you
I
said,
agree with you 100% on that.
thank you for casting Jennifer Tilly Sweet. Jesus.
Yeah, she's smoking hot. And a fun fact about the Bride of Chucky, when her bathtub scene, the original plan in the original Child's Play was to kill Aunt Maggie in the bathtub like that. It wasn't actually the out the window scene. So that's kind of cool about
Well,
that.
that probably would have been better than
Oh,
out the
yeah.
window.
I'm sure it would have been.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but I like seeing Jennifer Tilly in the bathtub way better
Yeah,
than
me
Aunt
too.
Maggie.
Yeah, so thank you.
Just
Just the
throwing that out
acting.
there.
Just the acting, not
Yeah.
anything else. That's weirdo.
I don't know if we'll ever take the time to rank this franchise, but like these guys said, the original, Child's Play 2, and Curse of Chucky are the three best to me.
Right.
And if you just want to watch Chucky try to be really funny, watch Bride and Seed.
I was gonna say
But,
he's very Freddy from Nightmare 4 in that movie to me, where he's all in on being just kind of ha-ha while still killing people. So I think that's the comparison for me anyways.
So yeah, y'all got any final thoughts before we wrap this up?
I'm good. I ain't gonna lie, I did not think we would do an hour and a half on Child's Play, but here we are. I love it.
I love talking about these movies though.
Me too,
Brian,
man.
you got any final thoughts before we go out?
No, just hopefully hopefully we do get a chance to do rankings on it, because hopefully, as long as the support keeps piling up for this podcast, we're gonna have to get to it eventually if people keep listening. So I appreciate everybody that does.
Maybe in about a year and a half, a new Scream will come out. We'll get to rank Scream. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
We
Anyway,
can still rank the first four.
well,
eventually.
that's but I mean, I gave that away already for free.
Yeah. I think Brian's just ready to shit on the rest of the franchise. I think that's all he wants to do.
There's some
No
good
way.
ones, Brian.
Yeah. Well, I don't. Yeah, that means I have to watch some of the other ones again, which is gonna be that's gonna be interesting.
Save
So,
it for the pod, brother. Save it for the pod.
Hey, at least with Bride and Seed, you can look at Jennifer Tilly the whole time.
That's right. That's right.
But I just want to say thank you to everybody who's been listening.
Yes, thank you.
Please just go on iTunes and rate us 5 stars and subscribe. We'd really appreciate that. And go follow the Twitter account. We're going to make Instagrams and Facebooks as well.
Yeah,
soon.
sorry about that. I'm a little behind, but
It's a
it's
work
coming
in
soon.
progress.
Right.
Hey, my man Mike is coaching a undefeated team right now, so he's busy. But go follow us on Twitter. We're doing a giveaway once we get to 125 followers, 8 more away. Yeah, we appreciate it, guys. Episode 7, we actually haven't picked a movie yet because Drew had to miss last week and this week. We're going to let him pick the movie, and
That's right.
once we learn which movie he wants to do, we'll tweet it from the podcast and our own personal accounts.
He better not
But-
pick the Blob, that son of a bitch.
God, he's gonna pick the Blob.
He's
now.
definitely going to pick the Blob now.
Nah, we
There
just
you go,
won't tell
Mike.
him because he's not listening right now. We're not going to tell him that we said this. But thanks, guys, for all the support. We really appreciate it. And we'll be back next week. And just want to remind everybody to don't go out there.